Hello, and thanks for joining us. Here's what's happening right now. Arriving in style to the Olympic Winter Games opening ceremony.
You know, giving a high five to an athlete in another sport when you're under such pressure can make a huge difference.
Why Canada's athletes are staying unified while divided.
Reinforces Canada's respect for the people of Greenland.
A show of partnership and Arctic solidarity in the far north.
First one is don't let go of the boat. The second one is never let go of the boat. The third one is never ever let go of the boat.
Plus, Quebec's carnival kicks off with an ice-cold canoeing tradition.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Hello, I'm Marcia McMillan in today for Heather Butts, who is on assignment in Italy as part of our coverage of the 2026 Winter Games, now officially underway. For the first time, the opening ceremony was a multi-site event spread across northern Italy. CTV's Scott Hurst has the details now on the celebration of sport, Team Canada, and the first events of the day.
More than 200 Canadian athletes are stepping onto the world stage. Led by flag bearers, Quebec's Michael Kingsbury and BC's Marielle Thompson, both athletes, previous Olympic champions, as Canada's team eyes more podium appearances. The opening ceremony is a stunning display of culture and sport, with the host nation always mixing in its own flavor, and Italy sure has a rich history to show off as Milano Cortina welcomes the world. And for the first time in Olympic history, the ceremony takes place across multiple venues in separate cities in a widespread yet unified event, with San Siro Olympic Stadium in Milan serving as the central hub.
They'll emphasize Italy, naturally. Music, dance, arts, they have a lot to work with.
Even before the pomp and ceremony to officially kick off 17 days of sport and spectacle, Canadian athletes have already begun making their mark. Quebec's Francis Jobin soaring into the Big Air final. He'll have a shot at the podium on Saturday in his Olympic debut. The husband and wife mixed doubles curling team of Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant are now 3-1, winning their first 3 matches before falling to the Americans. And Canadians sit 5th after day 1 of the Olympic figure skating team event. The competition kicks into high gear tomorrow with the first medals being awarded. And after the first match was postponed on Thursday, the Canadian women's hockey team will begin its pursuit of back-to-back Olympic gold medals. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
As Scott mentioned, there are 2 opening ceremonies and 2 cauldrons because athletes are spread throughout northern Italy. Spending the next 17 days competing for gold, the distance makes these games not only unique but historic in its setup. CTV's Heather Butts is in Milan to explain how that works for athletes and spectators. Heather.
Marcia, there's a real energy to the city today. Years of preparation for organizers, athletes, and people who have come to watch these games. And it's now all officially getting underway. Meeting this crew from the Netherlands, already a highlight for Ontario's Marga Wilson during her Olympic experience.
Bucket list, definitely. To see all the different athletes from all the different countries is so exciting.
The Olympic motto, after all, is about celebrating the unifying power of sport.
I'm hoping Canada goes gold, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you met some Czech hockey player at the airport yesterday. So you did wish him luck, but secretly he said not too much luck.
A unique aspect of these games is how spread out the events are. Organizers wanted to use existing infrastructure as much as possible, but this means no central hub.
It's missing a little bit of snow, to be honest. Canada would be better to host them, but it's nice to be in the city. I feel like in the mountains it'll feel like more of the Winter Olympics here.
I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more like fan zones here, and I didn't quite see that, but maybe they're just spread out more through like Cortina and Lavingo, so we'll see.
Competitions are taking place all over northern Italy, making this the most widespread Olympic sports setup in history. The games will span over 22,000 square kilometers. A trip between Milan and Cortina could take upwards of 6 hours. It means not all of Team Canada's athletes will be in the same village or region throughout the games.
You know, giving a high five to an athlete in another sport, or even the gentle smile when you're under under such pressure can make a huge difference.
Olympic champion and Canada chef de mission Jennifer Heil admits it will be a different experience, but the team is turning to technology with video chats and highlight reels to help unite them.
I think there's a trade-off between, the positive and the negative. I think for the Olympic movement, it's very positive that we're going to venues that already exist that make it more sustainable and easier to host.
The last time Italy hosted the Winter Games in Turin 2006, medal ceremonies were held in the center of the city each day. It created a real buzz, adding to that Olympic spirit. Because of the distance, this year, medal ceremonies will be held at the venues immediately following competition. Marcia.
Thank you, Heather. World doping officials weren't quite sure how to answer a question today about male ski jumpers and an unusual conspiracy.
There have been reports in the German press and in America that ski jumpers are now thinking about enlarging their genital areas by injecting hyaluronic acid. Again, the idea is it improves the dynamics and allows ski jumpers to go further.
Any takers for that?
Officials say they have no indication the alleged practices have taken place, though athletes have been sanctioned in the past for manipulating their suits. President Trump shared and then deleted a racist video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. The post was made on Trump's Truth Social account. The White House tells NBC News it was posted erroneously by a staffer. White House spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt defended the post at first, saying it was from an internet meme and calling the response fake outrage. But some of that outrage came from Republicans. Senator Tim Scott posted praying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of the White House. Let's bring in CTV's U.S. political analyst Eric Ham for more on this now. Eric, have we heard from Trump directly on this?
No, we have not, although we do know that the post has been taken down, and we're also now hearing that this was actually a staffer inside the White House who allegedly made this post on Donald Trump's Truth Social.
Of Black History Month. What more are you hearing in terms of reaction?
Well, the reaction has been swift and furious, particularly from within Donald Trump's own party. A number of Republicans have actually called the post racist itself, and going even further than that, they're also calling for the president to directly apologize, some saying apologize unequivocally. So clearly what we're seeing here, this is an outrage that is going to continue to grow, and it's very likely that the president will have to respond. And as you said, this comes on the heels of the first week of Black History Month here in the United States.
Cam for us. Eric, thank you for that. 3 police officers from Peel Region outside Toronto have been removed from active duty in connection with a corruption investigation where 7 current Toronto police officers and 1 former officer are among the suspects.
In my 35 years, this is, an incredibly challenging and disappointing moment to have these kind of allegations surface. And, as I thought about it over the months, I've gone from disappointed to angry.
Toronto's police chief wants an independent review to scrutinize how the service is run, from supervision to internal controls. The criminal charges against the officers include conspiracy to commit murder, bribery, drug trafficking, and leaking confidential data to criminal networks. A 4th young person has been arrested for sexual assault in connection with alleged hazing incidents involving a hockey team in Nova Scotia. The arrest comes after a player went to this RCMP detachment near Truro and reported an assault during a team gathering in October of last year. 3 other young people have already been arrested on sexual assault charges in connection with the hockey hazing incidents. Pennsylvania prosecutors are withdrawing a felony aggravated assault charge against Canadian hockey player and top NHL prospect Gavin McKenna. McKenna plays for Penn State and is accused of punching another man outside a bar after what investigators called an exchange of words between 2 groups. The victim suffered multiple jaw fractures. After reviewing video evidence, prosecutors say McKenna did not act with the intent to cause serious bodily harm. Court records show McKenna is still facing a misdemeanor charge of assault. The 18-year-old from Whitehorse is projected to be the #1 overall pick in this year's NHL draft. Canada's employment rate dropped slightly in January to 6.5%, despite the loss of about 25,000 jobs across the country. It marks the first net loss of jobs nationwide since August of last year. CTV's Heather Wright explains what's behind the numbers and the story they tell. Heather.
Well, Marcia, Ontario bore the brunt of these job losses, and while some provinces did see some gains, experts say there is a general feeling of uneasiness in the labor market right now.
The hits keep coming from manufacturing, especially in Ontario, the province which saw the largest number of job losses last month, according to Statistics Canada. Overall, Canada's economy lost nearly 25,000 jobs in January, while the unemployment rate fell to 6.5%, a result of fewer people looking for work. And while Alberta, Saskatchewan, as well as Newfoundland and Labrador all gained jobs, Ontario was hit hard, losing a whopping 67,000 jobs last month. That includes roughly 1,200 workers at the General Motors plant in Oshawa, Ontario, where last week the company cut one of its 3 shifts.
I think we're seeing it in the sectors that, we were expecting to see. For example, manufacturing is still suffering job losses, and we're starting to see public administration, jobs in public administration decline. And those impacts obviously more centered in Ontario.
Economists say the report is not all bad news, as the majority of job losses were in part-time jobs, while the number of full-time positions grew.
So the split of 45,000 full-time jobs being created is very good. So that kind of offsets the headline.
Underlying this jobs report, however, is persistent uncertainty.
I think tough times are here for a while yet. We need to see some resolution here, some certainty around what will be the access to U.S. consumers, so important for Canadian manufacturing.
With CUSMA, the free trade agreement with the United States and Mexico, up for review this year, many businesses holding off on hiring and investing, waiting to see the outcome of those trade talks. Marcia.
Heather, thank you. Tens of thousands are enjoying the magic of winter in Quebec City today as the annual Winter Carnival officially kicks off. It's a major tourist event, and locals and visitors alike are taking part in outdoor activities while enjoying Quebec's unique cultural heritage. CTV's chief anchor and senior editor Omar Sachedina is there with a look at what's to come. Omar.
Marcia, we're going to be coming to you live tonight from Quebec City and the world's oldest and largest winter festival, the Carnival du Québec. This right here is a giant ice palace belonging to the festival's ambassador, the Bonhomme du Carnaval. Each one of these blocks, by the way, weighs 300 pounds, and there are 3,000 of them right across them. They actually even have structural engineers throughout the 2-week festival to make sure these blocks don't fall. I was speaking with an organizer earlier who talked about the importance of having festivals and having symbols in this country, especially at a time when the world feels a little bit heavy and the winters are long.
I think it's really important to remember during winter it's a more rough time for people. It's colder and stuff. Bonhomme brings joy and happiness to everybody, and he makes them go outside, enjoy winter, enjoy the carnival. So it's pretty a big deal for us.
Also on tonight's show, we'll be taking a look at how, at a time when fewer Canadians are traveling to the U.S., what that's doing to domestic tourism. We'll also talk about the rising wave of separatism in this province and give you a bit of a history lesson going all the way back to 1759 and that famous battle on the Plains of Abraham. And what are the lessons from that battle for today? Marcia?
Thank you, Omar. And a reminder, CTV National News with Omar Sachedina will be live from Quebec City tonight at 11 p.m. on CTV and ctvnews.ca. While eastern regions of the country are in the grips of a seemingly endless deep freeze, records are being broken or melted as a wave of warmth sets new daily highs across British Columbia.
Going from like 0 degrees to this is like paradise.
In the Vancouver area, where the famous Grouse Grind Trail is already open, if no snow falls by spring, it will be the first time the city has gone snow-free in 43 years. The mercury rose past 16 Celsius in Abbotsford yesterday, rising above the old record set in 1984 by more than a whole degree. It was also a record day in Victoria, Squamish, Prince George, and a number of other communities. Coming up, deepening ties with an Arctic ally.
This region deserves a permanent, engaged Canadian presence.
How this partnership is sending a clear message. Canada's consulate officially opened in Greenland today with a strong showing from a Canadian delegation. And although the timing was entirely coincidental, the message to Donald Trump was very clear: to back off. CTV's Abigail Beeman joins us now with more on the diplomatic post from Nook.
This Canadian consulate was promised more than a year ago, and the Foreign Affairs Minister here to open it wouldn't directly answer when I asked her if she was concerned doing so could anger the Trump administration. And with that, the Canadian consulate in Greenland's capital is officially open.
To be able to be here when the people of Greenland are concerned and anxious is wonderful.
More than 100 people here, including members of the Coast Guard and a large number of Canadian Inuit who want to show they support Greenlanders in the face of Donald Trump's threats.
It's quite emotional. It's a great feeling. It's good to be here. Unity, Inuit, together, standing united.
As Inuit, we are one people. It doesn't matter which country we're from, we're all the same.
Now, Global Affairs Canada won't let us inside to actually show you what the interior of the consulate looks like, but we know that the Government of Canada shares this building with Iceland. There are not many countries that have a consulate here in Nuuk. France is also opening one.
I say congratulations to Canada. I think it's a smart move.
Many in Greenland still feel uneasy, even though the Trump administration has backed off threats to take over. CTV News asked a retired U.S. diplomat involved in the opening of the American consulate in Nuuk during the first Trump administration whether Canada's increased presence now could anger Trump.
Well, I think it's worth it. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a move that should be taken as threatening by the United States, certainly in any way.
While the consulate has been in the works for over a year, there is no permanent consul appointed just yet. The Foreign Affairs Minister didn't have much to offer about that. Marcia?
Thank you, Abigail. Russian authorities are looking for a suspect after a top general was shot several times on the outskirts of Moscow and rushed to hospital. Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev is the #2 ranking officer in Russia's military intelligence service. He was placed under EU and British sanctions after the service was accused of using nerve agent in an attack in the UK in 2018. Still ahead, the legendary Blue Jay leaping into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. A legendary Toronto Blue Jay is gliding into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
First pitch to Justice. Well hit to center field. Devon White racing back to the warning track. Great catch up again.
That was one of Devon White's most memorable moments, a spectacular catch in the 1992 World Series. The leadoff man and Gold Glove center fielder played 5 seasons with the Jays and 17 years in the majors. The World Series champion described how it felt to be inducted.
Well, definitely it's an honor for me to be recognized that way in Canada. And, you know, being a member of, you know, the Toronto Blue Jays during that time and, you know, representing Canada, you know, you're representing the country, and it was outstanding.
The 2026 class will be inducted in St. Mary's, Ontario in June. And longtime Toronto Blue Jays broadcaster Buck Martinez has announced his retirement after 40 years with the franchise.
Thank you very much.
Martinez says he and his wife decided after the World Series that it was time to step out of the booth and enjoy the years ahead. The 77-year-old's career with the Blue Jays began in 1981 as a player and included the famous broken leg double play in 1985.
Blue Jays catcher Buck Martinez breaking his leg in a home plate collision with Phil Bradley of Seattle.
He went on to manage the Blue Jays from 2001 to 2002 and then became the legendary voice of the franchise for multiple decades. For millions of people tuning into the Super Bowl, the draw isn't the game itself, but rather the halftime show. This year, Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny performs. He spoke about how it's all happening in the middle of a whirlwind of success.
I'm still at middle of my tour. I just was at the Grammys last week.
At those Grammys, Bad Bunny took home 3 awards, including Album of the Year. Despite his popularity, some Americans are upset. An outspoken Trump critic will be taking the stage and performing exclusively in Spanish. But the show will surely please many, as Bad Bunny was Spotify's most streamed artist of last year. And if you want to be one of the 130 million people around the world watching the Super Bowl, coverage kicks off at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific on CTV. As Quebec City's carnival gets underway, teams of canoeists are preparing to take part in a feat of physical and mental strength. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin caught up with the team from Calgary as they prepare for the big race. Geneviève.
Yeah, Marcia, this is an adrenaline-pumping race that will take place right here among the ice floes.
A canoe team from Calgary launches into the frigid water of the St. Lawrence, a stone's throw from the Plains of Abraham. They're training to go with the flows, to conquer chunks of ice and prepare for a race from one shore of the river to the other and back again.
You get some big ice, you've got to pull the boat over, or you get caught under some stuff. So, yeah, it can be very grueling physically, mentally, for sure.
Barney McElargy is a 30-year veteran, a legend of this grueling extreme sport.
Well, we do have some rules, though, for ice canoeing. The first one is don't let go of the boat. The second one is never let go of the boat. And the third one is never, ever let go of the boat. Because you let go of the boat, you could be gone.
Ice canoes were once vital transportation, ferrying merchandise and people across the St. Lawrence in the 19th century when ice blocked boats. The first race for the carnival took place in 1894. Now over 50 teams paddle, run, and climb ice over an ever-changing course shaped by the cold and wind.
And then you're scootering with your one foot, looking forward, all in unison together. And then when you hit the water, you got to transition back to your seat.
This team from Calgary has long-standing ties to Quebec City's race.
Well, Calgary and Quebec City are sister cities, so there's a cultural exchange. There's a group from the carnival that go down to Calgary during the Calgary Stampede time. And then during the carnival time here, there's a group from Calgary that comes and spends time here.
Teams from 2 provinces where political views don't always align, set to compete on Sunday, but also paddling alongside one another, finding adrenaline and common ground in the icy water.
And the weather's expected to be quite cold, so that means more ice, more obstacles. Marcia.
Thanks, Geneviève. And that is our newscast. I'm Marcia McMillan. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina later tonight for CTV National News live from Quebec City.